For most salespeople, prospecting is a game of chance. You send out scattered messages, make calls whenever a gap appears in the schedule, and hope for a response. But this erratic activity makes your results entirely unpredictable. The paradox of cold outreach is that the more you push for a sale, the more resistance you create. Building a system requires a counterintuitive shift. Your objective is not to close a deal today, but simply to start a conversation with someone who doesn't know you yet. To begin, you need 3 prerequisites: a targeted list of ideal prospects, a CRM to organize your data, and active communication channels to reach them. This approach treats your outreach as a bridge between finding a prospect and creating a real opportunity. By being demonstrably useful before trust exists, you earn the right to move that prospect toward a meeting. Turning that bridge into a consistent path requires a daily operational rhythm. You have to move past reactive waiting and start creating activity yourself. The blueprint for this is the 10-15-5 rule. First, you send 10 personalized cold emails. To avoid the generic outreach trap, you must reference the prospect's specific role, their company, or a challenge common to their industry to show that the message was written for them. Second, you make 15 cold calls before 10 a.m. This early window creates discipline, ensuring you reach decision makers before their day becomes overwhelmed and prevents you from avoiding the phones as the day goes on. Finally, send 5 LinkedIn messages. The goal here is social engagement, so you must lead with a curious question rather than a sales pitch. Effective social outreach follows a specific sequence. You establish context, offer a genuine compliment on their work, and then ask a relevant question to open a door. Mastering this daily 10-15-5 volume changes your pipeline from a lucky accident into a controllable asset. At the end of every week, you shift your focus from pure execution to data measurement. This prevents you from repeating mistakes. Looking at the weekly actions column, the first task is A/B testing your email subject lines. You compare 2 versions to see which specific wording actually captures a prospect's attention and earns an open. You apply the same logic to your cold calls by testing different openers. Finding the right phrasing in the first few seconds is what reduces immediate prospect resistance and keeps the person on the line. You also review your reply rates across all 3 channels, email, phone, and LinkedIn, to identify which medium is most effective for your specific market. This weekly review ensures your improvements are based on evidence rather than opinion. Once a month, you perform a full audit. This is where you optimize the entire outreach machine to ensure it stays healthy. In the monthly actions column, you'll see the requirement to rewrite week sequences. If a specific chain of emails is not producing replies, it needs to be updated with fresh angles or better calls to action. You also dissect your successful calls. By identifying the exact questions or problem statements that led to a meeting, you can turn those moments into repeatable patterns for the future. Finally, any campaign that is irredeemably poor must be eliminated. It is easy to confuse high activity with high effectiveness. Protecting a bad campaign just because you've put time into it only drains your resources. Ruthless monthly optimization prevents system bloat, allowing you to concentrate exclusively on high-return activities. Ultimately, every action in this system must be validated by business outcomes, the volume of pipeline created rather than the volume of activity logged. We track these outcomes through a 4-tier funnel. At the top, we measure raw engagement through replies, which filter down into the next tier, actual conversations started. From those conversations, you track the meetings booked, which finally results in the bottom line metric, pipeline generated. To reach these numbers, you have to follow through. This cadence example shows the reality of the process. It requires a structured 15-day timeline with 7 distinct touches to move a prospect from a stranger to an opportunity. Through this lens, consistent pipeline generation is a math equation driven by measured stages. When all these parts move together, daily execution, weekly testing, and monthly optimization, you create a fully operational outreach machine. You are no longer guessing. You are leading prospects through a sequence from conversation to meeting to pipeline and finally to sales growth. The system is ready. Map out your targeted list and launch your 10-15-5 framework today. The revenue pipeline of tomorrow is created exclusively by the disciplined outreach started today.